All right, and once again, everyone, we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel where the Force is family. I am Master Paul, and I guess this is sort of Tuesday Night Trek continued because we're going to be talking about two episodes of the Orville tonight, as well as I decided we're going to go ahead and just talk about Boba Fett tonight, since normally we'd be talking about this Sunday, but the Royal Rumble is going to be happening Sunday, so we're going to talk about it tonight. So let me just get the link sent out real quick. And hello, by the way, to Leia Rose. Thanks for joining. So, Book of Boba Fett. We're going to talk about that one. We're going to go ahead and just get that one out of the way. So, this episode, I remember last week talking about how, given that we were having the Mandalorian music little cue play at the end of Boba Fett episode 4, that I said, quote, I guarantee Mando's going to be in the next episode. Well, I was right, but I didn't know just how right I was going to be. Like, I thought it was just going to be a little, like, Mando was going to help Boba with something in this episode, but no, this episode was all about Mando. And honestly, I think this episode by itself was certainly great. But at the same time, it's like the show is called Book of Boba Fett. And Boba wasn't even in this episode. He was mentioned once. So this one is probably the most mixed of all the bags, you could say. Yes, this was very much the Book of Mando, Leia Rose. You are absolutely right. So, pretty much what happens is Mando has sort of gone back to his old line of work after the end of Mando chapter 16, where he's taking on bounties. And he's also searching for where his old covert was. And he finds them after a pretty brutal scuffle with some meat processors on this one space station. He uses the Darksaber in this fight, by the way, and it's clear that he's using it very clumsily. Like, he, at one point in the fight, accidentally slices off a piece of his left thigh. And so, but in spite of that, he still gets the job done. And he takes the bounty to where he goes and gets the information he needs, which ultimately leads him to what's left of his old covert. And we see the armorer there, as well as Paz Vizsla. Leia Rose says, that's, Master Paul, that's so fabulous when I saw the Darksaber. Yeah, the Darksaber looked amazing in this episode. So what happens next is Paz Vizsla helps heal Din Djarin's wound, and Din Djarin reveals that he has the Darksaber, and we get a little bit more information as to why winning the Darksaber in a fight is so important. Because there is what I'm calling a superstition surrounding the Darksaber, where if anyone comes into possession of the Darksaber and they didn't win it in a fight by Creed, then tragedy is to befall Mandalore. And she uses this basically to tell Mando that Bo-Katan and her life up to this point is a cautionary tale, and it sort of reinforces the quote-unquote the way that they follow, the way of the original Mandalorians instead of what Bo-Katan follows. So basically, the Armorer blames Bo-Katan for all of their problems. And I think it's really cool that we did get to see more context behind the Darksaber and the responsibility for carrying it. By the way, hello to Average and hello to Alan Copeland. Thanks for joining. So for you guys just now popping in, we're sort of recapping both this latest episode of Mando, and we're going to be talking as soon as some Tuesday Night Trek people show up. We will be talking about Book of Boba Sorry, not Book of Boba Fett. We'll be talking about the Orville episodes 5 and 6. But right now we're talking the latest episode of Book of Boba Fett. So Din Djarin sticks around to help them fix up the new covert and install a new Beskar forge. We also learned something else interesting about Beskar, because even though Mando is still using the Darksaber, he still has his Beskar spear on him. So the armor asks where he got it, and Din Djarin says it was a gift from a Jedi, being Ahsoka, of course. And the armor is like, Beskar's only supposed to be used for armor, not weapons, because a Beskar spear can penetrate Beskar armor. So Din gives up the spear to the armor to have it forged into something else. And he specifically requests making a vest of chainmail for Grogu. And they have a very interesting conversation around this where Din's like, I want to make this for Grogu. I want to visit him and make sure he's okay. But the armorer points out that Jedi have always been forbidden from forming attachments. So it will definitely be interesting to see when we finally do get Mando Season 3, exactly where all this leads. Because you know that they're going to bring back Grogu, and they're going to bring back Grogu. They're going to bring him and Mando together, and they're going to see each other again. By the way, hello to Mr. Phil McCracken, who says #justice for Boba Fett. By the way, guys, just to go off on a quick tangent, something to show you guys real quick in case you missed it last night on Tuesday Night Trek, we launched a new Teespring design for a t-shirt. It's called the Phil McCracken shirt, and Phil gave his okay on this. So I want to show you guys this. Let me pull it up. Hold on a second. My stuff froze. Let me try something here. Okay, here it is. All right, so let me show you. He says, I love the shirt. Thank you. All right, let me show you what I did today. I worked on it a little bit last night, but I had to tweak it tonight in order to get it to submit. So here is the shirt. #justice for Star Trek 5. And then the famous Captain Kirk quote, "What does God need with a starship?" And then, of course, a Bitmoji of me underneath of it laughing, because let's face it, that is a funny quote. And then on the back, the Star Wars guys. So yes, it's currently the only colors we have for it are black, gray, and white. So if you guys have not checked out the merch store yet, absolutely check out the merch store, especially now that we have a new shirt in the lineup, and there will be more coming very soon. All right, commercial over. Mr. Crit, did I like the latest episode of The Mandalorian? As a Mandalorian episode, absolutely. This was even without... Okay, you know what? I'm going to make a bold statement here. As an episode of The Mandalorian, I think this episode is better than Chapter 16. Now, yes, Chapter 16 has that really important scene of Luke. But what would happen if that scene with Luke didn't happen in Chapter 16? It would be, in my opinion, inferior to this episode. But, as I said, my problem with it is this episode happened in a show called The Book of Boba Fett. And Boba Fett was only mentioned in this episode once. He wasn't even in it. So I agree with everyone that is saying, as far as a Mando episode, it's a 10 out of 10 episode. But for a Book of Boba Fett episode, it's not... Like, I'm not even going to rank it, being honest with you, as a Book of Boba Fett episode, because it's not. So, as a Mando episode, yeah, 10 out of 10, easily. Actually, no, I take that back. I am docking a point because of Mado, the annoying mechanic lady. She was in this episode too much, in my opinion. But anyways, getting back to recapping the episode. So, there also is a scene after the chainmail is forged where the armor is sort of practicing with Mando as he's learning how to wield the Darksaber. And again, Mando's wielding it in a very, very clunky manner. And the armorer says that, no, the weapon is fighting against you. You're fighting against the weapon. You're not fighting against me. And then she theorizes perhaps this is because the weapon isn't meant for you. At which point Paz Vizsla pipes up and says, maybe it's meant for me. It was made by my ancestor Tar Vizsla, who, by the way, they mention in this was both a Jedi and Mandalorian. So Paz Vizsla's like, you won that armor for, you won that saber from Moff Gideon, and now I'm going to win it from you. Now, real quick, Phil McCracken says, I want to point out that the armor doesn't decide who is Mandalorian. She might decide that for the clan and that clan only, but not Mandalorian people who also remove their helmet. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And Leia Rose, I understand you think she's funny. I'm not saying she doesn't have her moments. It's just, even someone that is funny, if you're around them too much, they just become annoying. And with her, it's like the jokes just didn't stop, and not in a good way. So, good on you for liking her, but for me, she just got to be irritating. But anyways, back to what's happening in the covert. So Paz and Mando have their duel, which, by the way, is a much more amplified version of the fight that they had in Mando Episode 3, where they just had their knives, and they're really trying to go for the kill on each other, but Mando gets the upper hand, and the armorer stops it, and we have a repeat of that scene where the armorer asks each of them, have they ever removed their helmet? And Din Djarin says yes, because he has removed his helmet twice now. He removed it in the Imperial base in Chapter 15 of The Mandalorian, and he removed it in front of Grogu in Chapter 16. And the armorer says, in the most matter-of-fact, non-emotional way possible, almost like she's a Vulcan, then you are Mandalorian no more. And Paz Vizsla's like, get out of here, apostate. And of course, Din Djarin apologizes, and he's like, how can I make this right? And the armorer says that Din Djarin has to bathe himself in the waters of the, what'd you call it? The Beskar mines under Mandalore, I think. But Din Djarin's like, but those have been destroyed. And she just replies to him, this is the way. Almost like, like she was saying it like this: sorry about your luck, but this is the way. And so Din Djarin leaves. She did remind me of T'Pau. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that comparison. So at that point, Mando leaves, and he gets on a transport for Tatooine, and we get a somewhat pointless episode. Sorry, not pointless episode. Pointless scene of Mando having to check all his weapons in, but rules are rules. But the scene after that I thought was really cool, where Mando is just sitting there alone in his row on the transporter, and he has a Rodian family in front of him, and the child of the Rodian family peeks over the seats to look behind him at Mando. And yes, the TSA, that's pretty much what happened. But the child looks at Mando, and Mando, again, he's got his helmet on the whole time, so you can't see his eyes. But you can tell just even by his body language that this Rodian kid looking at him is making him miss Grogu a lot. So they get to Tatooine. He gets his weapons back, of course, and he goes to Peli Motto's junkyard. Now, the best part of this whole junkyard scene for me was the fact that BD-1, the droid companion that you serve with in Jedi Fallen Order, makes his live-action debut here. In fact, for those that don't know what BD-1 looks like, let me show you. In fact, I think BD-1 could be... he's one of, if not my favorite, droids. So this is BD-1. Wait, no, I can do better than that. Let me get a different picture. Well, shoot me. All right, we'll do it this way. There's BD-1. So this guy makes finally his live action debut in Star Wars, and he has all the same noises and everything. Now, they don't outright call him BD-1, they just call him BD, but it has the same exact coloring, so if that's not BD-1 in the episode of Mando, then I don't know what it is. In fact, let me find a here it is. This is from Inverse. I'm just looking at this for the picture. But there's what he looks like in live action. And yes, they do call him in this article BD-1. So I think it's pretty safe to say that this is actually BD-1 from Jedi Fallen Order. Might have been BD-2. Again, we don't know for sure because they didn't say a number after BD. So I'm going to assume, until proven otherwise, that it is indeed BD-1. And yes, the smaller droid with legs. So Din helps the mechanic lady in a bit of a scuffle with some of the local wildlife. And the lady had sent a message to Din saying that she had found a replacement for his destroyed Razor Crest. And it turns out to be a very much in pieces Naboo starfighter, like the one that Anakin piloted in Episode 1 to take down the Trade Federation ship. So, at first, Din is like, I don't want this piece of junk. I want my old ship back. But he gets talked into helping the mechanic lady fix it up and soup it up, and he ends up getting that ship. And real quick, Alan Copeland asks, where is Cal Kestis? Good question. That is a good question because the last time we see BD-1 before this episode, he was with Cal Kestis, who is very much alive at the end of Jedi Fallen Order. Now, we know we're getting a Jedi Fallen Order 2, so maybe this will explain further where Cal Kestis is. maybe in Jedi Fallen Order 2, they could decide to kill off Cal Kestis and end his story there, but we don't know for sure. Phil McCracken says, after this episode, to me, it proves that Disney cares for its Star Wars characters, but not Lucas's original trilogy characters. Lando, Han, Luke, C-3PO, and now Boba Fett. It can't be denied now. Yeah, Phil, unfortunately, you're right. They do seem to be putting Mando actually acted like an intelligent character overall in this episode that is a real credible threat compared to how Boba's been acting. And it is absolutely a glaring example of how, for example, with Boba Fett, they've taken everything that made Boba cool and gave it to Mando. And Everest says, I'm with Phil. After seeing how much love and effort was put into this one episode, you finally see how lazy the first episodes and how poorly thought out they were. Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. And I was even saying this at work today. Even if every single... Hold on a second. I might get hate, but I'm more disappointed about Book of Boba Fett. I'm going to say that since The Rise of Skywalker. You're more disappointed about Boba Fett. Okay, so let me see if I'm understanding you here, man. You're the most disappointed about Boba Fett than anything you've been disappointed about since Rise of Skywalker. Is that about right? And then he says this is becoming the most hollow series Lucasfilm produced. Unfortunately, you're right. Because, to be fair, I think we all, and I mean all of us, especially after Mando Chapter 16, set our expectations super high with this. And we were expecting a Godfather type show where Boba Fett does indeed become a crime boss, but he becomes a crime boss that you truly do not mess with, instead of a crime boss where the locals are openly saying to him, no one respects you, where he has a teenage cyberpunk biker gang working for him. I mean, yeah, he has Black Chrysanthemum now. That's cool. And he did have the sit-down meeting with the family. That's cool. But, again, everything that Mando's doing right now should have been Boba Fett's. But it wasn't. And I think this, at least to me, solidifies more so that this particular show... Phil, you are absolutely right. But as far as the show, this to me signifies that Book of Boba Fett has only ever been a filler show, just to tide us over until Kenobi or Mando Season 3. And if that is the case, then I hope to God that they do not screw up Obi-Wan Kenobi and give it the same filler mentality as what they've given Book of Boba Fett, because I've said this multiple times. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show, for me, is my line in the sand as far as Disney Star Wars. I have stayed on board, even through the Gina stuff, even through the sequel trilogy. But if they screw up Obi-Wan, that's it for me and Disney Star Wars. So let's get back to the recap of the episode. Mando gets the Naboo starfighter running, and he takes it out for a test drive, and he really loves it. And then at the very end, he gets pulled over by the same X-Wing fighters that pulled him over in Chapter 12. But the one that was there decides to just let him go. And at the very end, Fennec Shand approaches Din with the opportunity to be some muscle for Boba Fett, which Din agrees to do on the house, he says. But first he has to pay a visit to his little green friend. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. Like I said, Boba Fett was not in this at all. He was only mentioned once, and I think they should have saved this episode for Mando Season 3. But, given that we got it now, taking it for what it is, an episode of The Mandalorian in Book of Boba Fett, it's great. But it's just not... The show is called Book of Boba Fett, not the Book of Mando. Leia Rose says, it's Disney writers' fault the fandom love of Star Wars is ruined. You are absolutely right. By the way, we have a Russian bot, somebody. To end it off, you would think Jon Favreau would plan this out, but now it's clear that they did not put any thought in Boba's arc, and Boba is just going to be a piece of Mandalorian storyline filler. Again, you're absolutely right. And I also agree with something that I had seen Brandon the Anime Guy say on Twitter. As far as like the production quality of this episode, it's making me wonder, admittedly, was Mandalorian a fluke? Or alternatively, is mediocre the new good? Given how bad other projects of Lucasfilm have been, from the sequel trilogy to, at least from what I've been told, the High Republic, is mediocre now the new good? So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. And by the way, hello to Green Lantern. Thank you for joining. I'm sorry you had to join in the middle of a rant, but this show just overall has been a very frustrating experience. All right, so let's talk now. Actually, I tell you what. Let me see something. Because the people that are supposed to be joining me for the Orville aren't here. Let me message them. All right, we'll see if they get back to me. I did message them. And you know what? Thanks, man. Tell you what, let's do something we have not done on this channel in a minute. Let's have some music. Let me lower my mic down. And we're going to use this guy, my dear guitar. Gotta shift over a little bit. All right. So I guess until the people that have seen Nerdport, the Orville, until they join, we'll just do some music. By the way, hope you guys like the new shirt. Yep, here comes the copyright, but you know what? I don't care. So tell you what, let's hold on a second, my B string's out of tune. My whole thing's out of tune. I know I just tuned this thing. All right. Let's do this one here. Let me just pull the lyrics to what I'm thinking. Here it is. All right. Oh, hold on a second, everyone. Admiral on deck, what's up?
Oh, what's up? I forgot. I forgot about it. I know Mike is doing his own stream right now, so
Oh, that's fine.
I'm lurking on his stream. I'm lurking on Whoopa Troopa's stream, and yeah, so
That's
we're going
fine,
for it.
man. Have you heard from Spock?
Spock was I was talking with Spock on the chat on Mike's stream, so
Do you think you could probably pull him by chance if he's there? We'll do the music another time, guys. By the way, Nerd Warrior, you like my shirt?
let me. I didn't. Let me. I have you on the other. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I am going to be covering the Orv. I'm going to be covering season 3. So every episode's going to be dropping every Thursday starting on March 10th. And so I'm planning on watching it probably twice, and then I'm going to do an open stream every Thursday for that. What's funny is they're also coming out with a bunch of new Trek. So there's the new Picard season, and I'm not sure if I want to see that because season one really got to me. But the one that I'm really interested in is Strange New Worlds, because according to Akiva Goldsman, he claims that they're going to bring Star Trek back to form, quote unquote, with that show.
How's it going, guys? Sorry I'm late.
Find out. How are you, man?
Doing all right, thanks. Was just watching Mike's stream. He was covering Pop Talk right now.
Awesome. By the way, Action Com, thanks for joining, but he says he can't hear me.
That's in, if you see the Karate Kid, and I include this in my video.
Oh, right.
It starts with "I can't hear you," and then everyone's like, "Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir." That's how I begin my layman's guide to Cobra Kai. Literally, when I show my title card, I play that little clip.
Okay.
That audio clip.
And just remember, fear does not exist in this dojo, does it?
Fear is what will keep the local systems in line. Fear of this battle station. Whoops, wrong franchise.
It's all right, man. You're just getting ready for tomorrow.
Oh no, it's gonna be in a week. I'm taking this week off from corporeal stuff.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Real quick, good night to Phil McCracken. He says, have a good night and buy the Phil McCracken shirt in my store. Yes, buy it. Buy
Justice
everything.
For Star Trek 5. What does God? Yes, I did. What does God need with? What does God want with his starship? You should have had a picture of God. You should have a picture of God, the blue God in that from that movie.
I might change the design to do that. I'm just a little bit worried that it might get dinged for copyright. I know that I had to call it the Phil McCracken shirt because calling it the Star Trek 5 shirt for sure got it dinged for copyright.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you get dinged for copyright on you use Teespring, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
All right. Well, anyways, let's go ahead and go into these episodes of the Orville. We are talking episodes 5 and 6. Let me pull those episodes real quick. Overall, while I'm pulling them up, what did you guys think of episodes 5 and 6 of the Orville? Those are called Priya and Krill.
I thought Priya was pretty interesting because Seth MacFarlane managed to get a big star, Charlize Theron to play, the guest character. Mm-hmm. And I mean, basically, once again, this made me think of another episode of TNG that you haven't seen yet, but it's kind of the same idea. Actually, maybe a couple of episodes of TNG. One's called Captain's Holiday, and the other one's called A Matter of Time.
Interesting.
The whole idea of, time traveler, basically going into the past to steal, artifacts from the past and selling them in the present, which would make a pretty believable racket.
Nice. By the way, hello to Derpy Gaming, who says, this stream is legendary. and I'm not reading the rest of that. That phrase has been ruined for me by X-Wing and Fat Steven Seagal.
Like a bantha. Interesting.
Yeah. So Spock, what's your thoughts on these 2 episodes?
Well, give me a second to get this thought coming, because my audio is being really weird right now.
Oh, okay. Brian, I just realized you didn't give your episode on Krill.
On what?
On the 6th episode, Krill.
Oh, Krill. That's the one where they that's the one where Gordon and Ed go kind of like undercover on the Krill ship.
Yes.
Yeah, that was I when I first saw that when it aired, I didn't like it because of to me it kind of it struck a dig at religion, but then again, I mean technically I know what side of the aisle where Seth MacFarlane stands on religion and stuff. So I initially didn't like it, but I rewatched and I was like, it's not so bad. It's not so bad.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I got with it too.
All right, I think it's all fine now.
Okay.
But yeah, episode 5 and 6. These are not a horrible bunch here. Definitely not the super entertaining episodes in the season, but they did introduce some pretty interesting stories that I don't think we've seen before. Especially with Priya, a time traveler who comes back just to sell off mint condition ships from the past. That's a pretty smart move, I won't lie.
Yeah, it is.
I never really thought about that. And
This is
mm-hmm.
sorry. This is the one where they show us them watching Seinfeld.
Yes, it is. Where they show the scene of Kramer and
Bortus
Jerry.
is entirely confused.
Yes.
Oh, the contest. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's considered the best episode of Seinfeld. So I wouldn't be surprised if they use that. I think isn't this the one where Isaac doesn't understand the humor.
Yes, it is. And the one where he and Gordon play practical jokes on each other that ends with
yes.
Gordon literally losing his right leg.
His leg.
Yeah, I didn't know when I first saw this, I didn't know what to think of it. But then again, going into the show initially, I thought it was going to be a complete parody of Star Trek. Like I thought it was going to go to I thought it was going to go to Family Guy level humor and stuff. Like I thought it was going to be a lot like Galaxy Quest, but with a little bit more of a Seth MacFarlane type of fart and other dirtier jokes and stuff like that. But going into season 2, I was definitely, if going further in the season, of course, episode 3, about a girl, really basically tells you otherwise about the show, and that this is capable of being up there with the best of Trek.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, what happens in Priya is, the episode starts with the whole crew watching that episode of Seinfeld and Gordon and Lamar having to explain to Isaac what humor is. And at that moment, though, they receive a distress call from this one downed mining ship that's marooned on an asteroid that's heading right for a sun. So they have to rescue them. And the only person alive is a woman named Captain Priya Levesque. And they bring her on the ship, and it's clear that Mercer has a thing for her, to the point that he is probably doing things he shouldn't be doing, like showing her like the real juicy parts of what makes the ship tick and such.
Like engineering, and that was kind of unnecessary. Yeah. But probably the only thing I would say that makes sense in that whole little thing going on between them is, the holodeck, and him taking her to the holodeck and showing her that planet. It was really interesting. I wonder, regard that scene for their attraction for each other, that whole planet and its story that Seth gave. I wonder if we're going to see that for season 3, like a future episode of where they go on that planet And these evil beings, they said that sacrifice people to a raccoon god. Are we actually gonna see that?
Who
Oh my god.
knows?
Yeah.
So, they also that basically they officially meet over a cocktail party that everyone attends, and even though she will never admit it, I do believe that Kelly was kind of getting jealous of Priya, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So while Mercer is schmoozing Priya, Kelly enlists the help of Alara to search through Priya's room for basically any clues as to who she actually is, because she checked the manifest of the mining ship that Priya was found on, and there's no register of her name at all. So Alara and Kelly are looking through her room, and they find this little brick of something metal. They can't tell what it is. But by the time they can really study it, in comes Priya and Mercer, and they are, well, Mercer especially is pretty upset that Kelly went ransacking through her
Yeah, when you
through
see
her room.
Priya's face when she comes in, it's almost like, from that point on, you know that the jig is up. But the part that surprised me was that she just, ignored that and just kept on going like nothing happened, Priya. I was kind of surprised that she didn't just like confess there and now like what she is, and obviously she
Yeah.
had a whole motive behind what she wanted to do and control the entire ship. So it makes me also question when she had the time to plant those little silver devices across the ship.
Right. ActionCom says something interesting. He says there was a documentary called The Guy Who Was in That Thing, which is about character actors who people recognize. They all said that Star Trek was a show where an actor can get their card punched as legitimate. I wonder if Orville will fulfill that role.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's not always true though. Patrick Stewart wasn't really getting too many offers from movies because of the criticism towards him and his character. Like some directors would say, "Why would I want why would I want Picard in my movie?" And that kind of, halted him from being in any films and for quite a while until he worked his way into X-Men.
That's what happened with the original actors from TOS. You know, the show got canceled in '69. '70s came about. Shatner was homeless. He was struggling to find work. He just got divorced. DeForest Kelly had the same problem. I think Nimoy didn't. Nimoy managed to get a role right away onto seasons 4 and 5 of Mission Impossible. So Mission Impossible was Star Trek's sister show that was also being done in the same studio, Desilu. So, but yeah, all the actors from the original series, were struggling to find work. And then, then the convention scene propped up in like 71 or 72. And that's how a lot of them started, making a living.
Yeah. And then, of course, around 79, Star Trek The Motion Picture comes out.
And Mr. Shatner
kind of changes their career paths a lot.
Mr. Shatner credits Mr. George Lucas for the fact that they had worked throughout the 80s because of the success of Star Wars.
Yes, because Star Trek changed everything.
Mr. Shatner, we want you to talk Star Wars. I saw that. I'm like, I have to open my Star Wars stream.
Can you do me a favor real quick and pull that clip up just for fun?
Sure. I'll look.
I haven't seen this.
You haven't. Spock. You should watch my streams. Once in a while. It'd be nice.
Real quick. She said that the Orville was supposed to be destroyed in that black Yes, we'll get to that in just a moment. But for guest actors, Star Trek was a resume enhancers. Yes, we did.
Yeah, that's true. We
saw it.
For guest actors, being on Star Trek was kind of like a big fulfillment for their career. So they were able to get better work after living up to that role. I do hope that Orville does get that same kind of recognition as having a great legacy as a show, and that the actors portrayed in the show were great enough to be in any other sci-fi film. That's very possible. Orville is definitely heading down the right path.
Hey,
Right.
a question. Do you know how to? Last time I tried doing this on another stream, I didn't. I don't think the audio went through. So let me know if you can hear the audio.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
No.
All right.
When
Okay.
you clicked when you pulled up share audio, you should see a little check mark at the very bottom that says share audio. Did you see that?
Oh wait, I think I have seen this. This is hilarious.
No, I don't see share audio.
Okay. Here, I'll pull it up. See, this is a chill stream, so we can get away with this.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I just love how he said. I just love how he said Star. I just love how he said Star Wars.
Absolute. All right, tell me if you can hear this.
And now,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, William Shatner.
It's good to see you, Felix. Hail to you.
Thank you.
I like how Mark Hamill's. I like Mark Hamill's look. He doesn't like Shatner.
Star Trek
Chewie.
changed everything.
I love that look.
And aren't these conventions wonderful? Mr. Shatner, we want you to open the show. Star Wars? Oh, wait a minute. I can do Star Wars. I can do it. George. It's George, isn't it? May I call you George? You can call me Mr. Shatner. I envy you. I really envy you.
All right, that's all of that we'll watch for now. But yeah, that's how he opened up. That's how Nerdporial opened up his discussion on A New Hope, and it was perfect.
That's the only Star Trek Star Wars crossover you'll ever see in your life.
Yes,
And it was
yes,
hilarious.
it is. It's true. Leonard Nimoy has the Bilbo Baggins song. I wish I could learn that song, but the chords to playing it on guitar are honestly too difficult for me. By the way, hello to Star Wars Theology, who says, saying hi, top Star Trek live stream panel of all time, dropping my like, happy streaming, gentlemen. Thank you.
Good to see you, Felix.
What's up, Felix?
Great toupee Shatner.
Oh, you have to see his the roast of William Shatner. I mean, it's pretty. It gets pretty dirty, but like majority of the like George Takei was there. They were all giving their insults, and Shatner like literally rides in on a horse. Like he literally, because he breeds horses and stuff.
Mhm.
Well, he literally rode in on a horse to get on the stage to do the Comedy Central roast. That's how much of a character he is.
I believe it's how long is this roast of William Shatner?
Oh, it's like an hour. Like literally, like they show a commercial. Nimoy's talking to Shatner on the phone. Nimoy's like, "Don't do it, Bill. They're gonna roast you." And Shatner's like, "Larry, don't be such a pussy." And then it goes into the show and stuff. So
I was wrong though. There is another Star Wars Star Trek crossover. It's between Patrick Stewart and Mark Hamill.
tomato. That one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was dumb.
By the way, Brian, you're still sharing your window. I have it pulled down, but it's still there.
All right, I'll get rid of it. I'm sorry. Don't.
It's okay. I wouldn't dare piss off the Admiral. especially given the idea that I have for him in the radio drama.
You have what?
I'll tell you in a minute. We'll talk about that after we're done recapping at least this episode of the Orville. So, eventually the jig is up, and I guess you could say Priya kind of overshows her hand, you might say, because they come through a dark matter storm, which the effect of that, by the way, the special effects for that were amazing. They go through a dark matter storm, and Priya is the only one that can pilot themselves through it. And they escape, but their communications are completely knocked out. Not to mention this one little box that they had seen in Priya's bedroom has now fused myself to the engineering.
Oh my god, you found a rectangle.
Yes. So at this point, Priya reveals who she really is, that she's from the 29th century, and that she got here through a wormhole that they're on their way toward. And her whole mission is to collect priceless artifacts in mint condition from the past, bring them to her present, and sell them. And she plans to just basically maroon the crew of the Orville in that time period, so that they have to completely restart their lives. ActionCom says the special effects are top notch on the Orville. I wonder if it's the old timers or new people. I think it's a mix of both.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's definitely a mix, because you can tell that there is a lot of experienced artwork. People obviously have taken their time in graphic design, and especially not even just the CGI itself, but the choreography. It's all very well done. But I wouldn't doubt that there's a lot of new, designers, graphic designers, cinematic creators, a part of the team as well, because CGI is relatively pretty new in films, especially at the weight of what we're getting it now in a TV show. TV shows now look like movies compared to what they did in the early 2000s. So, I mean, everything is still very new. So I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, definitely a mix.
In season 3, we're gonna get Doug Drexler. So, and he's been working on Trek for years. I mean, he was the guy in Star Trek Continues. He was the guy that had the gun to Vic Mignogna's head in the holodeck, quote unquote.
Interesting.
That was him.
Go ahead. I
That
was
was
just gonna
him.
say, once we're done with these 2 episodes, I was gonna ask you guys whether you think Rick Berman should be a part of this show or not.
Why am I
Could have some
echoing?
positive and it could have some negative effects.
Well, I mean, Rick Berman was pretty much responsible for what Voyager became. Like he let Ira Stephen Burr and was Michael Piller kind of do DS9. He kind of was hands off with that one, and he had his hands all over the cookie jar in Voyager. So, and which one's the better show?
Fair enough. ActionCom asks, I wonder if they are still using razor blades on models. I doubt it. I think it's all CGI.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's also. Well, I don't know what the razor blades is signifying, because I'm not too familiar with actual models on sets. But rereading the background of these episodes, especially the CGI breakdown, it definitely is a mix of an actual model that they use, for the ship, like a replica that they can hold in their hands, which they also did for the original series and the Next Generation intros. But it's also on top of it a bunch of plastered CGI, which they haven't really come out about which engine they're using. They might have, but if I had to guess, just based off of the lighting we're seeing, it's most likely Unreal Engine. What we're seeing.
When you see the Reading Rainbow episode, you'll get that joke. Okay, fair enough. So, back to the episodes. Priya, of course, sees this as a good thing. She she's perfectly okay with basically forcing the crew of the Orville to restart their lives. But of course, everyone else on the crew, including Mercer, who feels betrayed because he and Priya did married people things together, and they decide to fight back. So literally, Kelly and Priya get into a fist fight while the rest of the ship escapes the wormhole and gets back to their time. And then we get a really, really cool scene at the end where Mercer basically, after explaining how it works, decides to destroy the wormhole, erasing the timeline where he and the crew ever met Priya. What did you guys think when you saw that?
Very smart, breakdown of, I wouldn't say time travel per se, because it's not really going back in time, but it's going in the future. So they do a pretty good job of, with time travel logic, as if when you destroy an alternate timeline that was supposed to happen, that it just vanishes, it fades away, and they give off a pretty good message that the future is unwritten for them, that they were supposed to die in that black matter storm, but it didn't happen. So
in a way, it's a fate worse than death. I mean, they're basically, as Doc Brown would put in Back to the Future, they are erased from existence. So Priya is gone, unless there's an alternate version of her out there that's going to come back and try to,
She was in the future, so it's possible I don't think we'll ever see her again, because she was like way in the future, 29th century. But it's very, possible that she is going to be born again, just not the same person that went back in time and sold off auction stuff.
Did this make you think of another episode, a Voyager episode in particular, now that we find out she's from the 29th century? An episode perhaps called Relativity? Spock?
Sorry, repeat that question?
Doesn't this make you think of another episode, a Voyager episode called Relativity?
I forgot what happens in that episode.
29th century, Captain Braxton comes back and plants something in the computer, or plants something in like a bomb or something, and they can't remove it. And then they keep changing.
The Star Wars Vintage Collection has joined in. He says, "Yes, I caught you live. Love the podcast. I'd love to jump on one day. Keep it up. Love your work." Well, thank you, man. Absolutely. I will get with you. Tell you what, are you on Discord or Twitter by chance? If you are, put your Twitter username or your Discord handle in the chat, and I would absolutely love to DM you, and we could work something out.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, Star Wars Vintage.
But yeah, it does remind me of Relativity. You mention it.
Yeah, just the idea of like planting some future device in the ship and stuff. And then once you said 29th century, I was like, oh, that's where they got that. So this was made up of like a multiple combination of episodes.
Yeah, Paul. Once we get to Voyager in the future, when you rewatch Orville, you're gonna see a lot of the inspiration behind it, because a lot of it is a lot from Orville, especially since we get some of the actors from the show to portray characters like Tuvok, Tim Russ, which I cannot wait to get to.
I wonder if they'll bring anyone else back this season. That's what I'm very curious about.
Maybe
Armin Shimmerman or...
Hear me out on this. It's possible we could get Kate Mulgrew, since she's back in the Star Trek field. She did Prodigy, and now she's voicing characters for Star Trek Online. It's very possible we could see her portray some other character in Orville. But who I really would want to see is William Shatner, like you said.
Oh yeah. But I mean, we're getting Captain Sheridan from Babylon 5, so that's like the next best thing right now, as far as we know.
That blew my mind. That would be amazing. And if Michael O'Hare was still here, I would love to have Jeffrey Sinclair on Orville as well. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it's a shame that like 3/4 of the cast of Babylon 5 are no longer with us. I mean, we lost Jakar, we lost Dr.
Yeah, that's something I was gonna talk
Dr.
to
Franklin
Paul and you guys about, because that's a show I definitely want to watch with you guys again. But it's not Trek, so I don't know if we would cover it on a Trek Tuesday.
we could.
Okay.
It's
maybe we could take a break between Deep Space Nine or Voyager and Enterprise, and go through Babylon 5.
It's only
Yeah.
5 seasons, I believe, and is there
Yeah.
some movies?
Yeah, there's like 5 movies, I believe. So, and then like the pilot is a movie, and so the first episode of season 1 is not necessarily the pilot. So you have the pilot, which is a movie, and then they have the first episode of the season, and then it goes forward and stuff. It's really until season 3 and on that it becomes more serialized. So seasons 3 and 4 are like practically they're all written by J. Michael Straczynski, and it all leads into this really major conflict. And so, I mean, even parts of season 2 as well. I mean, there's a lot of compelling stories in the show, and the characters are all great. My favorites are Lando, Jakar, Delenn. I love both Commander Sinclair and Captain Sheridan, even Dr. Franklin too. So, I mean, yeah, we lost Jakar. Jakar was played by Andreas Katsoulis. He was in Star Trek. He was Romulan Commander Tomlock, who I think we meet him in season 3. The Enemy, I think, is the first episode he's in.
Yeah, my favorite have always been the main 3: Ivanova, Sinclair, and Bruce Boxleiter, but also Garibaldi. Those are great characters.
So, real quick, to the Star Wars Vintage Collection, I found you on Twitter and I followed you. So you'll see me as Master Paul 120 on there. And ActionCom asks, should actors from other franchises play characters close to or furthest from their most iconic characters?
Not a bad idea.
Well, I mean, I think it was ActionCom that mentioned, like, or someone else mentioned that if they brought William Shatner on, that he would play the opposite, the anti-Kirk, whereas he was not a very big, he was not a very successful captain, and so this would be his chance to become something. So, I mean, I mean, both ways it's interesting, but preferably I want to just see, like, him as basically Kirk, give him a proper send off.
Yeah,
the Star Trek Generations did not do that.
The grizzled old admiral that's going out on his last ride.
Yeah, that would be meaningful to me.
Okay.
ActionCom says wasn't me. Well, it was somebody.
I think it was Spock.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't you the one that originally wishing for Kirk to come in to the Orville as like this grizzled old admiral character?
I don't believe so. Nerd was the one who brought that up to me, and I thought that was a great idea. So
okay,
maybe William Shatner himself came up with the idea.
Oh, when somebody asked William Shatner at a Wrath of Khan screening a couple years ago, someone asked him if he was going to be on the Orville, and he's like, I don't know. No, he's like, he responds kind of like Frank Pentangeli from Godfather 2. He's like, I don't know. No, Seth MacDonald. I don't know what you mean. I'm doing my own thing. I'm guessing you guys haven't seen Godfather 2. Frank Pentangeli's like, I don't know. No God. He's in court. He's like, I don't know. No Godfather. Yeah, I have my own family, Senator, because they're trying to get him to, admit to knowing that. Okay, never mind. You got to add Godfather to your list, Paul.
It's already there.
2. All right.
Already there. ActionCom says, better yet, the Orville doesn't know who the Kirk character is, but when the ship gets into trouble, he steps up. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into episode 6, which is called Krill. And this episode starts in a really weird way that kind of doesn't go anywhere beyond this, but it's really funny anyway. So we learn that thanks to Bortus, Moclans have like a super duper resilient digestive system to the point that they can extract nourishment from just about anything, organic or not. And real quick, hello, by the way, to Nemo Nova, who says, The Godfather is the only movie and its sequel to win Best Picture. Wow.
Yeah, both movies won Best Picture.
That's impressive.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say Part 2 is the better movie.
Okay.
And Part 1's a great movie.
All right, yeah. We will get to those. I think we'll get to those as soon as I'm done with the Rambo series.
I've only seen Rambo 1 and 2. I've not seen I have not seen the other ones.
I don't, being honest with you, I don't quite know yet if I want to go through all the Rambo movies, but excuse me. But who knows? We'll see what happens. I have them all. We'll just see whether or not I review them all. By the way, Glenn Schroeder says Star Trek Continues is the perfect send-off with Vic and Grant Imahara. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I just would love to see, one last hurrah for Mr. Shatner as Kirk.
It's not much of a send off, more of a a send off to the 5-year mission, but
It's a great
It's a good transition, I would say, to the movies.
It's a great. I do agree. It is a great send off for the original series. I mean, this was something that fans waited for. Like I had tears in my eyes when I first saw that ending. Like it was something that fans never thought they would ever get. Just that. The final.
Grant Imahara passed away.
Yeah, the actor that played Sulu. He was on. What was he in? He was on MythBusters, I think. He was on one of those shows. Yeah, he passed away.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think it was last year.
That's unfortunate. And I hate to bring it up, but thank goodness that he's in a better place and not having to deal with all this Vic Mignogna drama.
Yeah. I mean, I think Vic was on the stream with Mr. What the heck is that jerk's name? That jerk that played McCoy in the first couple episodes.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was on stream with him. This was during the whole this was during the whole scandal, that was going on with him, and nothing was said of it. They were like, everything was, they got along. So all of a sudden when they pulled this little thing on Twitter, I mean, it's hard to believe. Him and James Kerwin both, and other people.
Yeah. I like
who was James Kerwin again?
Continues.
James Kerwin's like a co-writer on a lot of the episodes of Star Trek Continues.
I like the other McCoy they got for Continues.
Chuck Huber. No, Chuck Huber. Yeah, Chuck Huber was more McCoy.
Way better.
Not okay.
Very
I'm thinking.
Much.
Okay, I was talking about Larry Nemesic. He lost. Like if you look at a picture of him now, he lost a lot of weight. But yeah, that was a jerky thing to do.
Mm-hmm. All right, so back to Krill. So, like I said, the beginning of the episode's just a gag of Bortus eating random things, like a whole fistful of wasabi accidentally because he's wondering what sushi is, and of course everyone's like, "No, don't eat all of that. You're gonna have an upset stomach." But he just downs it. He's like, "I'm fine. I can get sustenance from literally anything." And so they start.
You don't see what he eats in season 2. I won't tell you, but it's funny.
How, what's her name? Malara's reaction to it too, because you know how stronger they are compared to humans.
Oh yeah, she'd be like, if I ate that much, I'd be throwing it up and crying in it.
I mean, it's crazy to know how human they make. Some people don't like it, and that's understandable.
It's a little too human.
Yeah. So there's some people who do appreciate the more alien aspect to aliens, obviously. But I've always been one for human similar species like the Bajorans in Star Trek Discovery or Discovery. Oh my god, I can't believe I said that. Star Trek: The Deep Space Nine, or any other show that's introduces like Icheb, his species. That's kind of how I see the Alaris species, the Zillians. They're just, obviously way stronger like Superman, but they have the same digestive system as a human, which is kind of funny to me.
Right. Yeah, that's why a lot of people were drawn to like Vulcans and Mr. Spock in particular was because of how alien. I mean, they were different. And I mean, it takes a lot of work and a lot of creativity to make the other species different.
Hell, even the Ferengis.
Yeah, well, I think the Ferengi are.
What are you talking about, human?
I mean, the Ferengi are based off of misogynistic, evil capitalists. But come on, I mean, they were entertaining at least, But yeah,
anybody.
Oh my goodness!
I was hoping you guys would
about
catch
that part of that episode.
Anybody?
Yeah. Okay, so getting back on topic. Again, Bortus is just eating different things like glass, like a cactus, like a napkin, and they're having fun with this. Of course, Bortus is like, why is this funny? He doesn't say that, but you can tell it's on his voice or it's on his face. But then there's an alert coming from the bridge that they all have to attend to, and it is a Krill ship that is firing on a certain planet. And the Orville gets involved and just barely manages to defeat them by literally outmaneuvering them and dumping their entire payload of photon torpedoes at them. So the ship gets destroyed, but in the wreckage of the ship is left an empty yet completely intact Krill shuttle. So they bring it aboard, and they notify the Union headquarters, and a Union engineering admiral comes out to visit them. And she's impressed that they got this, but instead of taking it back, and yes, they actually do say this, to the victor go the spoils. Yeah. Instead of taking it apart and learning how it works, the admiral assigns Gordon and Mercer a mission to go undercover onto another Krill vessel.
It's really cool.
To capture a copy of what they call the Akana. Did I say it right?
Akana, yeah.
Yeah, the Akana, which is basically the Krill Bible. Now,
it's pretty cool that they do that, though, because like you said, in Star Trek, they would have just taken that ship apart and to learn its secrets. But it's interesting that the Union doesn't have separate branches. They kind of act like Starfleet intelligence, so they make instant decisions like Ed Mercer and Gordon to be undercover agents and pretty much infiltrate the Krill society and to learn their, literature, just so that they can, because they have a strong drive for peace, so they just want to learn basically the same grounds of what the Krill are and to kind of understand their viewpoints so that they can make a relationship, which is really cool,
Yes.
It's a really well thought plot right there.
Now, here's what they make very clear about the Krill. They make it clear that other species, the more technologically advanced they become and the further they go out into space, the less and less they tend to believe in and rely on religion. However, with the Krill, it's the opposite. They literally view everything that they're doing through a religious lens. For example, any war that they take on with the Union is a holy crusade. And so the Union wants a copy of their holy text to understand them better and possibly make peace, as what Spock said. So how do they do this? Well, Mercer and Gordon are given these personal one-man holographic projectors that are able to turn them both into Krill, at least to anyone's eyes or scanners. Real quick, ActionCom says, in real life, first off, he says the Union gave Captain Mercer a suicide mission. That is something that militaries do. In real life, a Marine sniper was ordered into North Vietnam territory to snipe an NVA general. The military and sniper knew it was suicide, but they had to try, and the gamble worked. Oh, God. I think we've offended our chief engineer.
I mean, I still have your stream up. I'm just kind of lurking. I'm just kind of lurking right now. So,
by the way, Pacific, we're talking about Book of Boba. I talked about Book of Boba Fett by myself and my frustrations about it. And right now we're talking about the Orville. And then I think after that, we're just going to go ahead and end the stream. But while I have Pacific's chat up here, I just want to remind everyone that this Sunday for our stream, we will not be covering Book of Boba Fett. We will not be covering Cobra Kai Season 3. We will instead be covering the Royal Rumble 2022, and we're going to talk about it match by match and just discuss what happened. So that's going to be a joint venture between myself and Pacific, and it's going to be open to anyone that is currently up to date with modern day WWE. So hope to see you guys there.
I heard a certain book of something didn't feature that something this latest episode.
You are correct.
It was actually featured another character.
It was a promo to a season 3.
Yeah, you are very correct. He says, just having a little fun. Awesome. Okay, so Gordon and Mercer make their way onto the Krill ship. And of course, while they're on the shuttle making their way to the ship, they have a fun conversation about, hey, we need to make up Krill names for ourselves. Well, what do Krill names sound like? I don't know. So maybe it could sound like
Glash.
Haagen-Dazs or something. But they ended up
Chris
going
and
with
Chris
and Devin.
Excuse me.
See,
Which
like,
ends
that's
up-
the Seth MacFarlane humor, but some people get a mistake that they're going to see some really perverted humor and whatnot. It's not like Family Guy. Like, this is the best humor you're going to get.
It's California humor. It's bruh.
Yeah. ActionCom says, I just find it interesting that the Union would go for this mission. Think about what they're asking Mercer to do. And it's not easy at all. They're literally asking him to infiltrate an enemy ship. It's literally 2 people alone against an entire crew.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you're using a captain. Like, I mean, captains don't grow on trees and stuff. You mean, you send specialists that know how to do stuff like that out. You don't send like a captain of a ship.
not to mention,
I mean, like, and also, like, the scariest part of it all is, the cloaking, not the cloaking, but the devices that they're using to holographic image themselves. How do you know that, the Krill don't have something in place to scan for those and to disrupt those, which they eventually do in this episode, but that's not the point. It's just that the risk that these two are taking and the calmness about it, that these are great, icons right here. These are good characters who have a lot of inspirational, I have to say, characteristics about them that you can grow to love.
yeah. And Spock, you clearly know more about them than I do because I haven't seen them yet. But this sort of mission that Mercer and Gordon are undertaking here, wouldn't this be something like what Section 31 might take if this was actually a Starfleet thing?
This
Oh,
is
absolutely.
Maybe it's difficult to say because once we get into Section 31 a lot more in Deep Space Nine, they kind of, without spoiling too much, they like to take on threats that are faced towards the Federation as a whole, like Dormammu level threats that you see in Doctor Strange. They take on gigantic missions. So something like this definitely wouldn't be out of their range. This is something that they would do, if not Section 31, definitely something that Starfleet intelligence would do, because they were more of the secret society within Starfleet, and they would perform investigations on their own captains, like we saw in the recent episode Tuesday Night Trek. I forget his name, that officer that was asking all
Remick,
those personal,
I believe it.
Remick.
Yes.
That's an example of Starfleet intelligence. But the interesting part, comparing it to the Union in the Orville, the Union doesn't have stuff like that. They're all one gigantic charter, and they have Starfleet intelligence, something like that, built in already, which is what
Right.
they're asking Mercer and Gordon to do.
ActionCom says they did have Picard do something risky like that, but we'll talk about it much later.
Oh yeah, he's talking about chain of command, I think.
Okay. All right. So, anyways, Chris and Devin, as they're called, make their way onto the Krill ship, and at first they're accepted as one of their own, but it's clear that just something is off about them. But they let it go for now, and they're actually invited to a Krill religious service where it's revealed that they worship a god called Avis, and they're basically, their worship service is them chanting something like purge or something over and over and over again as the priest is repeatedly stabbing the head of a decapitated human. And they don't show it, but you can tell by the look on Mercer and Gordon's face that it's not fun. So they stay through the rest of the service, and Mercer sort of catches the eye of one female Krill. I think her name was Saleya.
Talea.
Talea, yes. And yes, Spock is right. Should we tell them that their god is a 20th century car rental company?
Well, you know, a certain starship is also a rental company too. You know.
Yes, it is. And I need to get in touch with them as soon as possible to rent a car for Nashville. But anyways, they sneak back into the chapel after service, and they're taking pictures of what's inside the Akana. And they see one picture of this really gnarly looking krill dude with all these horns coming out of him. I think the best way I could describe it is perhaps an alien interpretation of Satan, but this is their god. And he's shown bringing absolute destruction to humankind. And so they keep taking pictures.
Their belief is obviously aimed at humans, but that picture kind of paints out that their god is to destroy every single life in the galaxy except for their own, because like we have in our own religion. I'm Catholic, so it's said that in the Bible that man was meant to hunt, and the animals are here for us to hunt. That signifying that, and that the Earth is our planet. To basically, it's like our playground. Their religion isn't so dissimilar, but it's obviously in a more extreme context where their god is to destroy every single soul. Like every single life, because they don't view them with a soul. Like they don't view humans with a soul at all, which is really eerie if you think about it.
They're the center of the universe.
Yeah, so it's hard to. That's why they're having a trouble time, making a relationship with these, because how can they prove to them that they have a soul? That's the hard part.
Yes.
You gotta sing soul music.
I mean,
that
kind
was
of
terrible.
works though.
That was terrible.
That kind of works though. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm a soul man.
The Billy Joel song that starts playing in this episode. Oh yeah, not this episode. It's the next episode.
I mean, if you want soul music, just play Stevie Wonder.
Wait, was it this episode where Billy Joel was singing? I forget.
No, that was season 2. That's what was that's Talea in season 2. Okay. So we see, yeah.
So anyways, continuing on. While they're scanning all of the real quick, hold on. This is definitely a fire and brimstone religion. Action Comm says we don't know the context though. How do we know their god wasn't punishing the wicked, the murderers, the thieves? Remember, God reserves the right of ultimate punishment.
That's true. We still don't know much about their god, Avis, right? So
yes,
that's something we're still gonna learn. Maybe this whole time the Krill have misinterpreted their own religion, and that's the whole case. That maybe their god didn't want them to do what they're doing now, killing a bunch of innocent people in preservation of their own land. Yeah, it's definitely true.
So while Mercer and Gordon are scanning the pages of the book, their holographic projectors go screwy, and they revert back to themselves right at the point that a guard is on the way to search the chapel, because the high priest is kind of suspicious of the 2 new Krill that are aboard the ship. Now, they just barely are able to make it out of there, and they manage to get their projectors back online. However, they noticed that what caused the breakdown of their projector was something emitting high energy output 2 levels below them. So they go investigate, and they find that it is a very, very powerful bomb that they are going to use on a farming community. Real quick, the Action Comm says, the Krill strike me as a race that puts community over worldly wonder. If it means the community will fracture, they want nothing to do with it. Yeah, I could see that. Like another way of saying, don't rock the boat. Either you're with us or against us, right?
Spoken just like President Bush and Anakin.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Then you are lost.
If you're not with us, then you're with the terrorists. That was right after 9. That was his 9/11 post 9/11 speech.
I believe it. So anyways, moving on from that. So at one point, the girl Talea pulls Gordon and Mercer aside to speak to a class of little kids. And they kind of go through the motions of it, but while doing this, they have this realization: we can't just destroy this ship with these kids on board. We need to get rid of the bomb in a way that doesn't harm the kids. But I should note that they're willing to harm everyone else.
Yeah.
So what do? They figure out that the Krill, because their planet is literally an eternal night, they have become a race that is super, super, super sensitive to ultraviolet light. Like sunlight, normal sunlight for us would kill them. It would fry them alive. So
Space vampires.
yes.
You know, it makes me think of Operation Annihilate. TOS. The Denovan parasites.
Oh yeah.
Remember, Spock, remember that was a very traumatic experience for you.
Yeah.
You got stung by it.
How can I forget about it?
And then you were in continual pain. I mean, you had to use your intellect to
Still have the
get rid of
scars,
pain.
man.
You may be controlling the pain, Spock, but you're far from all right.
Wow, that was a great
impression.
remembering. Yeah, I didn't even remember that one.
Thanks. So anyways,
But yeah, I mean,
The
put yourself in Mercer's shoes, right? He's in a tough predicament, right? They find out that this Krill ship that they're on is a giant weapon that's going to destroy an entire colony of people. So their only solution to doing this, especially since they don't have their ship with them, is to blow it up. Or not blow it up, but that was their original plan. But when they found that the kids were there, like Action Com said, it was a great twist and a change in their plans. So there was a great confrontation there between Gordon and Ed Mercer, deciding whether they should blow up the ship, and they decide not to because of the kids. So they are very sympathetic characters, but even after everything that they've caused, obviously nobody wants to kill a kid. So
kids are even your enemies.
They're purists. They're the innocent.
Kids are they're innocent. They have nothing to do with this. So I mean, any acceptable casualties will be on the military end, or in this case, well, I think even like, what was that religious guy with wears the red? Kind of seemed like a cardinal to me because red. I'm talking about that religious leader. I think he's the one that's kind of in command or something.
yeah.
Yeah, and ActionCom brings up something too. I wonder if we will see that child again who is super curious about Earth, because after what Talea said, that they won't forgive you. They'll actually hate you after what you did. These kids are not going to forgive you. I don't believe that's entirely true, though. We might see some Krills, some Krill kids team up with the Orville later on.
Yeah, I think it might go in the way of, like, remember Romulan? Well, I don't want to go too far into it because Paul hasn't seen it yet, but with the Romulans and the unification episode, if you know what I'm talking about, where
we might get our first Worf for the Orville crew, the Krill.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool. So, the episode ends with them amping up the lights on the ship super hot to where everyone except Talea and the kids, because they're in a different part of the ship that's quarantined off with the lights put out, everyone else on the ship burns alive and dies for it. They literally look like burnt up marshmallows because they start out completely white, they end up completely charred.
CGI was, it was scary because, like, I thought, they were just going to get a really bad sunburn, get all brown and die or something. But no, they literally burned to ashes, which was really scary.
And that's all caused by the light.
Now, let me ask you...
That makes sense why they wear their armor.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, guys. What do you think would be scarier? To be a Krill and have that happen to you? or to be who you are, but have what happened to that one doctor in the first episode happen to you, where you age 100 years in an instant thanks to that machine.
Definitely that. That sounds horrible. Literally, your age flashing before your eyes. That's probably the scariest thing I can think of.
Yeah.
I mean, is it painful? Probably.
Here's how I figure it. I would suspect that aging forward would be kind of like the one Admiral character in the Karnas episode where he was aging backwards rapidly.
Karnas!
And that was painful for him. So I would suspect to a degree it's painful to age forward as fast as it was. I mean, look at Walter Donovan in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That looked like it had to hurt too.
That's the cool thing about sci-fi.
He has chosen
as a genre as a whole, sci-fi, including mysteries like, and unfortunate mysteries like that, where what is the feeling like of aging 100 years in like a second? That's a mystery. We'll never know, but it's probably painful. Most likely, it's definitely not a spa day. That's all I can say.
It would just make you confused and stuff. You'd be like, "What is this feeling? What's going on?" And then you lose all sense, and then you're gone really quickly.
I'm thinking like a Krill priest for the Orville.
The Krill could guilt them into taking a priest because they're not inclusive.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the best place to start with relations, is somebody who's super dedicated to the faith, and see if we can do anything from there.
Actually, the stress on the cells killed Admiral Jameson. That is true, but is it not equally as stressful on the cells to age rapidly forward? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was a very weird episode, but I know I wasn't on yesterday, but I do know that the guy that plays the Warlord, or the Warlord, is the same actor from TOS that plays Captain Koloff's second in command. I forget his name. But he's like, the Enterprise should be hauled away as garbage. That's the same guy, same actor. Michael Paddock is the actor's name, I believe.
He's my favorite TOS era Klingon, by the way. That guy.
Even better than Core? Come on.
Yes, even better than Core.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I actually kind of liked Too Short a Season. That's the name of the episode, right? With Admiral Jameson, because it's one of the first times you see a firefight between, you get to see phasers go off. It was kind of nice. I mean, I don't mind exploration, but come on, a little action. This is Star Trek, fire some phasers. Come on. Right. Let's shoot each other, Now it's all pew pew. Now it's all pew pew all the time now.
You do want to be careful though, because that's unfortunately Kurtzman logic. You do at least want to have a good story on top of some phaser fire, because if the story is all bad and you just have amazing CGI, that doesn't really do it for me.
Spock, are you saying I'm being seduced by the dark side?
No,
Kurtzman side.
I'm warning you.
Corporeal, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I cannot follow.
You did this to her.
Well, I did. I'm going to cover Strange New Worlds to see for myself where they go with the 23rd century, because they're claiming it's going to return to form, which I don't believe at all.
You turned her against me.
You have done that yourself.
You won't take her from me. Your lust for power and your arrogance have already done that. Don't lecture me, Obi-Wan. I forget what else he says.
Only a Sith deals in
absolutes.
I would do it
on Bully Maguire version of that.
That is, that was great writing. When he says only a Sith deals in absolutes.
You know which one's better than that? The Bully Maguire version.
Oh, by the way, ActionCom has some big news.
It says Star Trek will end after season 3 announced today. Oh,
yeah, they said that a long time ago about that. He was only going to do 3 seasons. I
hate to break everybody's hearts here, and if you're a Star Trek Discovery and Picard fan, then you must have known that these shows were only going not off of ratings, but off of disclosed documents and, them being allowed to extend their contract for maybe 3-5 seasons but based off of no ratings, just purely money. So I'm sorry to break everyone's heart, but that's the truth. And that is
So
why
does
those
that
shows
mean it's
will end.
not? So does that mean it's not going to be going on for 3 seasons? It could be more.
Well, it could definitely end after 3 seasons. There is a lot. There is, I wouldn't say a lot, but there is some support for the show. People who are extremely optimistic, and that's fine. But as the show is well received, it didn't get really good ratings on it. I don't really like Rotten Tomatoes too much, but they rated it low. A lot of other critics rated the show really low. So if it's going to keep getting that kind of result, it's definitely going to end after season 3. And I can say the same with Discovery, although Discovery tends to surprise me. It's getting a season 5, which I'm hoping is the last season, but we'll just have to see.
Well, we will just have to see what a certain future ruler of Earth says about that.
And Strange New Worlds is getting a season 2, and the show
United
hasn't even.
President of Earth.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, back to the episode. So, the ship ends up getting destroyed. The bomb ends up getting destroyed, and Talea and the kids get evacuated. And there's this really, really tense yet really awesome scene between Mercer in his true form as against Talea, where the two are talking. And of course, Talea feels hurt. She feels betrayed. And here she is standing in front of her, as she's been told, worst enemy. Now, I'll be honest. I thought Talea was going to be the one to see, you know what? Maybe this isn't such a good idea to follow. But no, she stays just as dogmatic as ever. And she's like, the kids that you rescued, when you see them again, they will be your enemies. They will be your enemies. She's like really insistent on it. Now, I think it was you, Nerdporial, that said this, that one of the things that this show gets so right compared to modern Trek is that they don't ham-fist a whole bunch of modern lingo into the alien speech, that they're still very much old school Shakespearean acting.
That's
this
correct.
episode is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
I really miss that. I mean,
because here's the one thing, the difference between the Krill and the Zillians, right? The Zillians, the reason I would say, well, besides their strength, they're not a very interesting species, is the fact, like Nerd said, they're very human in the way they talk and in the way they, discuss things. But with the Krill, the very important thing about aliens, especially if you're making aliens, is that they should talk different. They should have a different kind of vocabulary, maybe a different way of saying the vocabulary, like the old 18th century, way people used to talk back in the day, or like you said, Shakespearean acting.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we see with,
like the Vulcans, for example. That's how they talk.
Yeah, and the Vulcans are, that's a very important piece about them, is that they're very monotone. They don't have much emotions. I'm not very caught up with what they're doing nowadays with Vulcans. I hope that they're keeping that true, that, Vulcans aren't emotional, even though they have emotions and they suppress them. They do a very great job of suppressing them. They never really show emotions, so I hope that
Except
doesn't
for
break.
Cybok, but we don't talk about him.
Except for yeah, well, that's something that's going to be explained, I think, in Next Generation. I forget. Or no, sorry, that's going to be explained in Star Trek Enterprise, which is a show we should have probably seen first chronologically, but we can always watch it later.
I wanted to do release order.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect. So we'll get into that last, and that covers Vulcan a lot more. That's probably one of my favorite shows because of how much coverage it has of Vulcan, and we get to see reasons for people like Cybok. And there is Vulcans who don't suppress the emotions, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the abilities Vulcans have, I mean, they did not use in Enterprise. It was like a new thing because, like, for instance, the mind meld was considered taboo to the Vulcans for the longest time. So I thought, I mean, there's a great season 4 3-parter on Vulcan. That's one of my favorites. I'm sure Spock, you'd agree.
Okay.
Definitely great history of Vulcan, and basically, and
we get to see a younger version of T'Pau.
Yeah,
in that
does a
3-parter.
lot more. does a lot more world building for Vulcan. So once you get to Amok time again, once you like say you watch that episode first, the 3-parter on Enterprise, and then later on you watch Amok time, sorry. You're gonna feel a lot different about Vulcan. It's a lot bigger than what they show on the set. The world.
I'm gonna do exactly that.
Season 4 does a lot of makes a lot of effort to connect to the original series, but in a way that's believable and not just trying to appease fans. Like it's interesting.
Right. And Glenn Schroeder, I'm not going to highlight what you just said. It's a little bit too profane for my tastes, but everyone can see it. And Spock, I know you and Nerdporial agree with it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I gave Discovery a chance. I watched the first 2 seasons of it, and then the end of season 2 just didn't fit with TOS. And that's what
I've never rewatched it, but I've only seen the first 2 seasons, and that was years ago.
And here's the thing. Like, I can rewatch TOS. I can rewatch any other Star Trek. I tried rewatching Picard and Discovery, and they're not, you watch it once and that's really it. To me, it's disposable entertainment.
Because they're making it a whole prolonged story. The difference.
Yeah, and it's a very boring prolonged story. Like, they don't really add much.
It's all pretty much the first season you're learning about Michael and her mother. And then after that, it gets into more stuff about Spock. But never, like, the comparison between that show and Orville we can get into is that Orville has, you could say, a prolonged story of, I don't know, dealing with the Krill or dealing with the Kalon and having to make relations between those 2 species. But each single episode is a completely different situation, a whole new story developing. But in Discovery, you don't get that. They're not really keeping up to the legacy of previous incarnations of Star Trek. Even hell, their recent one, Star Trek Enterprise, which only ended in 2005. So 2005, Star Trek Enterprise felt like another 90s Star Trek show. Guaranteed it probably wasn't as good as Deep Space Nine, but it kept that same format going.
It followed a serialization suit, but it's still, each episode was still its own thing. Like they still did stuff. There was stuff that they accomplished. There's whole episodes of Discovery and Picard where they do nothing. And I feel, and I'm going to be honest, I know I'm going to be in the minority on this, but there's a few episodes of The Mandalorian where and even Star Wars Rebels, where they literally accomplished nothing. I'm like, what is the point of this episode? So, I mean, the writing back then was better. Like, every episode, there was a purpose and there was something meaningful to, or something that they accomplished. People were busy doing stuff.
Yeah.
Action Comp says Deep Space Nine showed that overarching prolonged stories can be done.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. But still, even in that case, Deep Space Nine offered different things every episode, new story developing, some even just about one character like Odo. So
Babylon 5 and Babylon 5 same boat. I mean, I think Deep Space Nine took a lot of its ideas from Babylon 5. 2 totally different shows, very similar because they're both on space stations and they're both, there's overarching serialization that builds, leads into, a big major conflict. But hey, there's a Mod Poriel there.
Yes, and he is
quite Jake D. Woo!
He is quite the Ric Flair impersonator, I can tell. Woo!
Yeah, he does that all the time. Like that's his shtick.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining us, Jake D. So that's the end of the episode. Again, 2 solid episodes from the Orville that definitely put across that Trek feel, but with a more comedic filter to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're as good as perhaps some of the ones we saw before, like about a girl. But
right, yeah.
they still get the job done and do it well.
These are the episodes we're watching now. I wouldn't say they're meh, but they're definitely less than super entertaining than, like About a Girl, where there was an actual well-written story that took a lot of thought process. Some of the other episodes, they're good, but they're kind of silly as well, because there are a lot of Seth MacFarlane in them. But About a Girl was probably the only one that had some silliness, but overall was super serious about what it wanted to address.
Yeah, and hence it kind of took away that perception that Orville's a complete parody. not to be taken seriously. It is to be taken seriously, and this was basically Seth MacFarlane's take on Star Trek.
Yes. And one last thing before we stop talking about the Orville. Yaffet's awesome.
Rest in peace, Norm. Rest in peace,
Norm Macdonald. Yeah.
So, do you want me to tell you what might happen with him since he's already passed away?
I think you mentioned it already that he had finished enough of his lines before he passed to at least give a good ending to his time as Yaffet. But I think you mentioned that he's going to split himself in two and become two different beings, right?
It's gonna go through some mitosis. Oh God, Klingon, photons already, Captain.
Fire. So I think
he's gonna have mitosis and split in two. So we don't know who the next voice actor is gonna be.
I think it's going to be two more comedians that Seth MacFarlane has worked with. That's what I think. Two other comedians.
There's this one I really hope for. He's another YouTuber I've been following for a long time, and he was doing a lot of voice impressions on Call of Duty. It was really funny with them, and eventually his Cleveland Brown voice became so good that he took over the spot for Mike Henry, and now he is the new voice of Cleveland Brown, and I'm assuming he has some connections with Seth MacFarlane, so he's a really good voice impressionist, so it'll be interesting to see him in the Orville. I would like to see that.
They're not doing that because Mike Henry is not black or something, because I remember they were The Simpsons and all those shows were they're basically as voice actors were stepping down because of the George Floyd stuff.
Yeah. His name is Arif Thrower. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he's now the new voice of Cleveland Brown. He's hilarious, so it'd be awesome to get that comedian on the show as well. But I don't know, who would you guys want to see? Let you know.
I don't know, honestly. Actually, no, I do know one. Fluffy. Gabriel Iglesias.
Wow.
That would be pretty funny, yeah.
Maybe get Ron White. Get Ron White with his Texan, him telling stories,
Or Bill Engvall. The Here's Your Sign dude.
What about a female comedian? What was a good female comedian? And let's not say Sarah Silverman, because I do not want to hear her voice.
I'm being honest with you, I can't think of one.
Yeah.
I mean, if she was still alive, Joan Rivers.
Oh yeah, Joan Rivers. Yeah, I could see Joan
I don't know
Rivers.
if you guys find her funny. Maybe Amy Poehler? I don't know.
Don't know who that is.
She was in Parks and Recreation, which was a good TV show.
Never seen it.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Wasn't she in Saturday Night Live as well? Yeah.
I don't trust anyone coming from Saturday Night Live, especially modern Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's not from modern Saturday Night Live's. I don't even watch it anymore.
Maybe Seth MacFarlane can get Adam Sandler.
Maybe.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Adam Sandler and get Rob Schneider.
He does like
maybe
a stupid voice. That'd be amazing.
Get Rob Schneider. I could see Rob Schneider doing it. Classic '90s SNL when they were funny.
That would be awesome.
R.I.P. Chris Farley, by the way.
So anyways, I think we're going to go ahead and end it here, guys. Thank you guys for hopping on for the second half of this stream with me. Anything you guys want to mention before we get out of here?
Sure. Next week, Thursday, I'm going to be doing a stream of some movie, a sequel to a movie not a lot of people have heard of. It's called The Empire Strikes Back, and
I've heard of that movie.
Yeah, there's like these walking machines, and there's snow, and there's wampas and stuff, and asteroids. Yeah,
and a little green guy named Yogurt.
I can do Star Wars.
The Schwartz, and hopefully the Schwartz will be with this stream. So next week I'll even reveal it. I managed to get I managed to get Echo Base, so I'm thinking maybe it'll It'll be Nick that'll be out. They'll come on for a bit. I asked X-Wing. X-Wing said he would do it.
I can be there, man, if you need me to.
Oh yeah, I already. Paul, you're invited. Who else did I invite? I don't even remember who else I invited, but yeah, yeah. So there's gonna be. I'm gonna try and get. There's one more. There's room for one more. So Spock, I forget. What's your favorite Star Wars movie? Is it Revenge of the
Empire
Sith?
Strikes Back.
You want to come on?
Did you hear me?
Do you want to come on?
Yeah, I'll come on. What time is
for
it?
that? It'll be Thursday, a week from tomorrow, at 8 p.m. It'll be Nerdporial Sci-Fi Chat number 5.
8
Come in,
p.m.
buddy.
Eastern?
Central.
Okay, so 9 Eastern. That works out perfect.
Yeah. And you won't leave me too early, will you, Paul?
No, I should be.
I'll try to make it shorter. It was 4.
I'll even rewatch the movie the day before because
I will say this though. I don't have nearly enough Legos to reenact the scenes like I did last time, so that unfortunately will not happen.
Okay. So Spock, you have to for homework. You have to watch my 4-hour Star Wars stream, starting with Mr. Shatner and ending with Mr. Shatner.
Yes.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, go ahead.
Oh, and if you can't stand my audio was not set correctly, so I sound louder than everybody else in the stream. So
if it's all good, I wanted to go ahead and say for all the gamers who are probably in chat and you play Star Trek Online, then there is a big update that happened. New story with Admiral Janeway from Star Trek Voyager that was pretty damn good. So go and check that out. They also released, for every free player, they gave a promotional token called a Tier 6 coupon. So you're allowed to claim any ship you want in the market for free, completely free, and go ahead and start yourself out with a really good ship as a beginner.
Which I've already done, but I realized I made a mistake because I wanted to start a new character in the modern day Starfleet. I should have waited until after I had done that to claim it and not before, because it won't let you claim it as a new character on the same account.
Yeah, that's the only part that sucks. You have to, if you want to claim it on one character, it's only going to stay for that one character. You can't. Well, I could be wrong with that. Are you not able to reclaim it in the Zen store on another character?
Yeah, I tried.
So, okay, thanks. So usually that allows you to just claim it on any character you want, but I guess for this free one, they disabled that.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, be careful with this token, guys. If you want to get it, you're going to get it for only one character, but choose any ship you want. It's going to be completely free. And there's some giveaways going on, some free inventory slots, but go check out Star Trek Online.
Absolutely.
So when's episode 2 going to come out, Spock?
Within this year for sure. I just don't have a planned date yet.
Oh, within the year. How long did it take you to make episode 1, by the way?
3 months.
3 months.
But
okay.
I've learned some new tools along the way that'll hopefully speed up the process.
Do you need a certain corporeal to help for next episode?
Voice act?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. So stay tuned, buddy.
Yeah.
I don't know if the world's
You
ready
too,
for
Mr.
my.
You too,
Oh,
Chief.
that reminds me. Before we go, I gotta share the idea that I have for our radio drama for your character, Brian. So you're referring to yourself as the Admiral in the story, who is a non-corporeal being, right?
Yes.
And I'm taking it that you basically are the main antagonist of our story, right?
Yes. Or maybe I'm more like Vader. Maybe I'm being manipulated by something even bigger.
So here's the idea that I have. By what you just said, for my idea to really work, you would be the main antagonist. But maybe you could have someone working under you in the Vader role. But basically, what if the Admiral is luring into this one expanse of uncharted space that's clouded by nebula, like it's like the Bermuda Triangle of space.
Right.
Ships enter and never
disappear.
come out.
Yes.
What if the Admiral is building himself a fleet made pretty much of everybody? Starfleet, Klingon, Romulan, Borg, Ferengi, you name it.
Yeah.
The only question is,
Why?
for what purpose?
Yeah, that's something that's going to have to be worked out. What is the Admiral's motivations?
Yes, which that's entirely up to you.
Okay.
And if it's cool with you, Paul, I'm gonna go ahead and plug the first episode in the chat here for anyone who
Absolutely.
hasn't seen
Go ahead.
Is it a shameless plug?
it. Yes, I've learned.
And
from
real
one
quick,
individual.
I do want to mention one thing to Nemo Nova and Glenn Schroeder about that comment that he sent earlier. I'll just go ahead and pull it up. I do have a rule of no saying profanity live on the show. If you want to put it in the chat, that's fine. But I personally am not comfortable with saying profanity myself or anyone else saying profanity on here. So the one, where is it? Here it is. Discovery is just S word. That's what I meant by saying I didn't want to pull it up. That it was too profane for my tastes. So I'm sorry that it wasn't clear what that was. I hope I didn't make you guys upset, but if so, I apologize. But that's what that was about.
I mean, you like the chat very much, but they are not. The heck, you're. I can't think of it. I wanted to think of something clever from Star Trek 4 without swearing.
You've run out of lines, man.
Yes.
I guess they told you, huh? The heck they did.
Mm-hmm. Spock, and yes, so here's the link to the episode 1 that Spock did of a Tuesday Night Trek thing, and I did a voice for it. I believe Purple Valkyrie did a voice for it. Did Pacific do a voice for it?
Yes.
Yes, he did. He voiced
Yes, he did.
a Vulcan we saved, known as Random Vulcan.
Did you
Awesome.
did you see how I was chat when your episode premiered? Do you see how I was chatting every time you spoke, Paul? I'm like, I know who that is. I know who that is.
I came into that thing right as it was ending, man. So I had to
name of his character is the real name of Paul himself. So
yes,
but he's a chief engineer.
Chief
So
engineer
Chief Engineer
Paul.
Yes.
Okay.
So, like I said, I got there right at the end of that, and I just rewinded it when the credits happened and just watched the replay. And I gotta say, absolutely. Yes, Green Lantern, we are doing a radio drama of Star Trek, and tell you what, man, maybe we could get you involved too, if you're interested. It's
we need a someone that knows, what do you call where you don't there's no lines, but you have to improvise.
Yes.
We need an improvise guy. Green Lantern, goggles and gadgets, you got the job. All right.
Absolutely.
Even though it's not my my call, so I kind of overstepped.
And Nemo Noah, don't even worry about it. It was my fault, honestly, for a lack of communication. And awesome. So tell you what, I know we disbanded our DM on Discord for the... Actually, tell you what, I'm going to make a special Discord page in the content creation section of my Discord for the radio drama. And that is where we will brainstorm up. It'll be open to anyone. And that'll be where we sort of brainstorm up ideas for this radio drama, and I'll just sort of share the basic outline for it. So that will come out probably sometime tomorrow, but in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and shut this down for tonight. So Brian, Spock, as always, thank you guys for joining me.
Stay nerdporial, everyone. May the wings of nerdporials carry you.
Absolutely.
To prosperity.
Improv. Oh yeah, watch out when you're doing improv with Green Lantern. You come up with some crazy stuff, like selling a bridge in Brooklyn to pigs flying and taking over the world to underwater basket weaving. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the merch store, where I will say it again, we have launched a new shirt with Filmokraken's best line, #Justice for Star Trek 5, followed by Captain Kirk's most funniest line, what does God need with a starship? Check it out. Ponder that question yourself. And just remember, everyone, the Force is family. See you guys later.